In 1987, when I started Idea Champions, my company, with Stephen McHugh, the co-founder of the same company, at that time there was one simple way to get business in the training and development field, and it was to rent a booth at the American Society for Training and Development, a big convention, and meet and greet people. That was it. You set up shop. As people went by, you gathered their business cards, you smiled, you handed them some kind of brochure, and you hoped that you would get business. Well, the first year we went to this kind of event, observing how other companies did it, we were unbelievably bored. 600 booths, everybody cookie cutter, doing the same thing. We got a big headache. We felt like this is not our cup of tea. We can't see ourselves doing that kind of used car salesman meet and greet stuff. So we asked ourselves, if we go the next year, what can we do differently? After all, this company was about igniting creativity in people. How could we go and do the same old, same old? So we decided that we were going to have the anti-booth, the booth where people went to take a break from all the other boring booths. And at our booth, what we were going to do to make it interesting, engaging, and interactive was teach people how to juggle. Many people secretly, though they don't speak to this, have always secretly wanted to learn, but they feel they never could. And we knew this. So 5 of us went with hundreds of juggling balls, and for 3 days, that's what we did. People walked by, they saw a lot of people having fun. We taught them, and as we taught them, we would just drop a few simple hints of how learning to juggle is very similar to innovating and doing something new and different. People would smile, they'd take our cards, they'd have a conversation with us, and we began to develop some relationships with some buyers. On the 3rd day, we noticed down the hallway, moving in our direction, a gentleman with a large name badge. He was the Director of Training and Development from AT&T. You get good at these events noticing who's coming your way because you don't want to spend your time teaching somebody who isn't going to buy. He gets to our booth, he stands there, he looks at me cross-eyed, he cocks his head to one side with a cynical kind of frown on his face. He folds his arms and he says, "What is this?" Now all around people are juggling. It's obvious what this is. And after 3 days of teaching hundreds of people to juggle, I was in a bit of a quirky mindset, you might say. And I looked at him. I knew he was a big kahuna, but I didn't care. I said, "What does it look like?" He said, "Juggling." I said, "Yes. Would you like to learn?" Now, this is a man who's used to being in charge. He's a man who tells other people what to do. He's not accustomed to being a beginner. He had to put down his stuff and start at a place of 0. So he looks at me and he smiles and he says, "I've been trying to learn to juggle for 25 years. If you can teach me to juggle, you have," pause, "my attention." Pause again. Then he looked at his watch and said, "Oh, I have 5 minutes." So there's the setup. We had 5 minutes to teach this man a behavior that he hadn't been able to accomplish in a quarter of a century. Well, we taught him. He learned, and his mind was blown. He reaches into his wallet, he hands me his business card, and he says, "I still don't know what you guys do, but I know you're not a juggling company. Call me on Monday and let's talk." He left, we high-fived each other, but behind that high-five was a lot of doubt. Is he really going to field our call? It's easy to make these promises at these kind of meet and greet events, but actually will he engage with us? I called him on Monday morning. His secretary put me through to him in about 10 seconds. He kept me on the phone for 45 minutes, telling me how he taught his wife, telling me how he taught his son, telling me how his dog chewed 2 of the juggling balls and would I send him another set. Then he asked me what I did. I told him, which at that point was one thing, a creative thinking training. That was a time when AT&T needed a lot of boost of creativity. So we said, okay, let's try you guys out. He brought us in, we did one group, it went quite well. He then said to me, you know, the scores were high, but this could be a false positive. Come back again in a month, I'm going to give you a tougher group. We went back in a month, scores were quite high, we thought we had the contract. He said, you know, this could be another false positive, come back a third time. We came back a third time, the same result. Finally, he says, okay, great, but we're not going to buy retail from you. That would be too expensive. We'll buy wholesale. You teach our trainers how to teach your course. You teach our trainers how to teach juggling in the course. And we'll buy wholesale and we'll buy your materials and you can coach us, which is what we did. And for 5 years, that became the main source of our revenue. When Lucent split off from AT&T, they brought us into Lucent and it became another major source of revenue for us. That whole thing began by doing something very, very different. Taking the risk to teach people how to juggle at a big professional event where we could have easily have been perceived as the Mickey Mouse Club, as the trivial, as the clowns. We took that risk, and instead of being perceived that way, we got the attention of some major players, and major revenues and major contracts followed. I tell this story to my clients because I ask them, is there something you can do to differentiate yourself from all of the same old competitors? Is there a risk that you can take? Is there a way that you can engage the attention of the people who you want to buy your product or service, that you want to get their attention? What can you do differently? What risk can you take? And then move in that direction. That's the power of doing something different. And that indeed is the power of telling this story, because when I tell the story to my clients, to my customers, they remember it. Thank you.